Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's March 25th, 2022, and we filmed this yesterday. A lot of my GoPro footage really didn't show up, well, there were challenges with some of the recording as well. And so I thought I'd show you. So this is one of the surveillance cameras over the side of the building. I just came up with Elon. That's a Takushi TB290, the excavator, and created a spot for doing healing in. I'll be doing this a couple of times, but whenever I come over to this area of the property, you can see that there's a large area where there's no grass growing there in between all of the wood chips around the perimeters there. And so one of the things I'm doing when I come over in here is planning to get things ready for the nursery. So the nursery is going to have weed fabric or weed mat being put down on top of the area where Elon is working right now. And this is the drainage swale that comes from the northwestern part of the property, comes down and feeds into Pond 5, which is out of our view right here, right now. But whenever I'm working in this area, I'm trying to take the opportunity when I have the equipment over here and it's not extra wet, and it is a little bit wet here because it's springtime here. And one of the things you'll notice, I'll try to do reviews with all of the pieces of equipment, and most people are going to be interested in the hand tools, garden tools, or some of the other tools that we use that are not quite as expensive as an excavator or tractors and all that. But I will be making videos about some of the strengths, some of the drawbacks, the service, the costs, all of those sorts of things. So people have got an idea of what's invested in having a piece of equipment like this. And to tell you the truth, I wish I had gotten excavators and track loaders years ago and big tractors years and years ago, but it wasn't economically feasible at those times. This saves me so much work. I'm able to move earth to different areas to accomplish the goals that would take me a whole day to do what I'm doing right now by hand or with just my older tractor, which I used for many years without a lot of issues. So what I'm doing now is I'm making sure that there is a nice gentle slope. It's relatively flat up in the area next to the wood chips. Up here where you can see some geese over here in the background and the wood chips along the fence line here. Well, this whole area here is going to have weed mat put down again, and that's where we put all the potted plants. The potted plants are all enclosed over here for overwinter, and now we're just extending some of the healing in area. So healing is spelled Heeling, and that's a process where we go ahead and temporarily, after we've dug up the bare root plants that we're going to sell, we heal them in because the roots could become desiccated, dry out, and we want to keep them in their dormant state for as long as possible, and we want to keep them as healthy as possible. So Thea and I have spent a few days digging up the black currants, the red currants, and the hosta berries, and that's what we're doing today, is healing in some of the red currants and hosta berries. I go ahead and transplant one of the red buds yesterday as well, a pretty good sized one. But using an excavator can really help to get a lot of material moved very quickly. And I'll be making more videos about the maintenance of the equipment, the servicing that needs to be done, what I like about the pieces of equipment and what I don't care. So those two wheelbarrows there, that's the hosta berries in that wheelbarrow, and the other one are the red currants that we got out of the western garden plot. That's me on dropping off a red bud tree with Thea's Mini Me, the Kubota B2601, which will be videos coming out about that. And what I'm doing now is trying to record some of the things that I'm doing out there and the healing in, and I may post videos about this whole healing in process. You're just getting little glimpses of it here from this surveillance camera, monitoring camera. But the problem with selling bare root plants, we aren't really set up for shipping, and our bare root plants have such massive root structures on them that it would be it'd be cost prohibitive to ship them this way. So I need to not develop the roots, develop the plants quite as much as I have been. Works fantastic for people who want to, want to travel, come and pick up the plants here, but not ideal for shipping. It'd just be cost prohibitive, and we're really not set up for shipping yet. There's a learning curve for me. So this is the Hulk, which is a Takushi TL12 V2. The thing about having having track loaders is being tracked machines, we can disturb less soil, we can float over moist soil. We have so much more traction and it's much less of a bumpy ride than a wheeled skid steer. And with track loaders and skid steers, there's a whole variety of skid steer attachments. Now they are expanding those on tractors as well, but the amount of weight and the amount of work that can be done with a track loader exceeds that of even the largest tractors at this point. I find having each one of these pieces of equipment on our property as being such a wonderful asset. So I'm digging into the wood chips here and creating one more healing in bed. This will be for the hostaberries. I've already gotten the red currants healed in at this point to the left of where I'm working now. And so by pulling the wood chips back, and then I'll work on a little bit. Every time I come over here with a piece of equipment, I'm going to assess, well, how's the water going to flow? Is the water going to sit up above? Are there going to be any little indentations where once the weed mat is down where Elon is sitting right now? I don't want pooling of water, because the pooling of water is going to cause the roots to leave the pots and just try to set into the weed mats themselves. Where if there's no little pooling sections, even if the water dries up quickly, the heat of the weed mat and the air exposure decreases the chances of the weeds coming up. So I'm taking some of the aged horse manure right now, putting it into the area that we're going to do healing in. I rake that out some. You don't get to see a lot of the activity with the surveillance camera. Here's the rest. Thea's coming up now with the rest of the hostaberry plants that need to be healed in. So we've got that wheelbarrow and that bucket. I think 130 different, and these are pretty massive root structures for bare root plants and all. Really took quite a bit of effort getting all of these plants up. So we've got elderberry plants we'll be posting on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, black currants, red currants, hostaberries, and I'll see what trees we have available. I haven't gotten to those yet. We won't be selling any of the blueberry plants this season yet, and I don't know that I'll be doing the pinks or the honeyberries yet this season. And Thea's bringing out the hose now. So besides taking these, and I'll do a detailed video on this at some point in time, but besides taking in and digging up these plants when they're dormant, the buds haven't opened yet, they're still pretty quiescent, they're in a dormant state. We dig them up, get as much of the roots as we can out of the ground with them. We prune them back somewhat as well, and then we group lay them together on their sides, and they can be really tight together when we're healing them in, meaning that we're putting them in. It's sort of like, having a refrigerator in a sense. You're just temporarily, it's a transient phase where we can hold them in a state of dormancy before they end up getting sold and put into the ground. Selling bare root plants has its advantages because we don't have to use more plastic pots, which could ultimately end up in a landfill. We always ask people to bring their plastic pots back when we sell them. We have to have less compost. There's less material, less handling, and all of that. And as I'm learning here, I'm going to have to sell these plants earlier in their development like most people do, so that you can package them up and get many more plants grouped together. I mean, some people, a group of 100 plants could fit in between your two hands, where ours you can't get one in there. So but this is the way that I've been growing them for years, and they just get so hardy and they're so prolific and so productive that you're able to get a really good sized bush in a year to 2 years time, where you can really, you can harvest and create your jams as well, or whatever you, or like us, you making smoothies. So Thea's bringing the hose back. So a couple of things that she does or we do at different times, is once we get the soil put on top of all of these plants laid together, we need to make sure we get rid of any any soil voids where air is sitting there. The air, all roots need air, but they need to be in contact with soil in order to stay viable. So using a hose and using a rake to poke them down and get as much soil in between them. If they're relatively small root masses and they're more of a just smaller volume, it's much easier to remove all the air and get them stored in a tight, compact place. But what I'll end up doing now is just removing Mini-Me out and then smoothing out the area here, and the video's just about ended. I'm not sure if this video is of value to people to see this. I'll be making videos about each piece of equipment, and on the back of the Hulk here, there's a bumper there that I'm going to do a review on, made by Precision Armor. That's really good. It's got a winch on it, but I'll talk about the functions of that as well. And but I thought I'd give you this perspective, since editing the other video would just be a little bit crazy right now in our busy schedules. So if you found this video of value, give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends, stay safe, and have a great day. Bye-bye now.